In what is being dubbed as the toughest match of the quarterfinals, South Africa will take on Sri Lanka in Sydney. While Sri Lanka will depend on their batsmen Kumar Sangakkara and Dilshan to see them through, South Africa too will hope that AB de Villiers will fire in this crucial match. The biggest point to note is that South Africa have never won a knockout game in the World Cup. Obviously, the most enticing of the four quarter-final clashes. We've got Andrew and Nikhil with us and Boria as well. Andrew, I'll come to you first. Like AB mentioned, obviously a lot of talk will be on the fact that South Africa have never won a knockout game. They are known to be chokers. And if we look at this World Cup as such, the team hasn't really performed great.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably peaking at the right time, because this tournament's so long, you want to peak at the right time, and the time is now. As people have mentioned, South Africa have played poorly in finals in the past, and I think they'd be kidding themselves if there wasn't something in their heads about it. I personally think that there would have to be, and as an opposition player, I'd be playing on that where given the opportunity. But still, as we can see, that on paper they've got a very, very good side. They bat strong, bowl strong, and they field well. The one thing for me is the fifth bowler. Have they found the right balance there? Does de Villiers have to bowl, and these sorts of things? So in a final like this, pressure, who handles the pressure and the initial pressure in the early parts of the game will be very interesting.
Andrew, we've just got news from the middle. The toss has happened and South Africa have won the toss and they are elected to bat first. Sri Lanka, have won the toss and elected to bat first. And obviously that has been a strategy that most teams have gone in for. Nikhil, if we look at the two sides, Sri Lanka have posted 300 plus totals in the last 4 matches. They will be looking to do that batting first.
Well, without a doubt. In this tournament, we've seen, Melbourne, Sydney, the good wickets. The captain wins toss, he wants to go out there, post a big enough total or get runs on board. It makes all the difference. When a side's chasing 300 plus with this new fifth fielder in the 30-yard circle, it's not that big a threat. It's not that big a total, but still, it's just a psychological thing that you're chasing more than 300 runs. I think the mantra for the Sri Lankan side would be the same. The trend that we've seen in the World Cup is first 10 overs, don't lose wickets. Even if you're about 40 for not too many down, you can still make up, get 300 runs also. Or the other way looking at it, you get close to 200 runs, 210 runs at the end of 40 overs. The last 10, you can easily get about 90 runs.
Andrew, absolutely. In fact, if we look at the batting, both sides have performed brilliantly as far as batting is concerned. You've got Sangakkara who's hit 400s. You've got AB de Villiers who's performed brilliantly. It is the bowling, and like you mentioned for South Africa, primarily the fifth bowler, that has been a problem.
Yeah, with this extra fielder inside the circle, it leaves a huge gap on one side of the field or down behind third man fine leg. So there's a big hole there that you can target. And the way that the batsmen move around the crease these days and are very effective at manoeuvring a ball from the offside into the leg side and vice versa, it can be very difficult, especially for a part-time bowler, to contain during that period. And if someone's in and going, if you do have a Dilshan or a Sangakkara who's on the 70 or 80 and flying, very difficult to contain them during that period.
Andrew, talk us to the pitch at Sydney as well. We do know that Sri Lanka will be without Rangana Herath in this match. He's been ruled out of the tournament. That is a player they will really miss, because we do know that the wicket at Sydney actually turns at times.
It can take some spin, Sydney. It hasn't taken a great deal this tournament so far, though. The wicket's been very flat, and it's been a good service to bat on. It may be different today, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's a loss for Sri Lanka. His experience and guile, and he's a cagey bowler. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to that, whether that change affects them at all. But very interesting game of cricket in front of us.
Very interesting game, Nikhil. We'll go across to Boria now, who's joining us from Melbourne. Boria, Sri Lanka obviously won the toss and decided to bat first. An evenly contested match, both teams very evenly balanced. With Rangana Herath out and with the way that the Sri Lankan batsmen have performed, who do you think go into the match as favourites?
With the toss, Sri Lanka. If there is one wicket in Australia where they would fancy beating South Africa, it has to be Sydney. It's not Perth or Brisbane, where the South African quicks would wreak havoc. Dale Steyn, Morne, Morkel at Perth or Brisbane would have been a different story. Here, without Rangana Herath also, they have decent spin. They have Tilakaratne, Dilshan, Sachitra Senanayaka. They have a lot of slower bowlers who will come into the act, who will come into the party. If you've seen that Australia-Sri Lanka game, big totals will be expected. The ball might hold up a bit. Don't rule it past Sri Lanka. South Africa, yes, big chance, but it's a 50-50 contest with the toss. Maybe Sri Lanka will start fancying their chances.
When you're talking about the bowlers, like I just mentioned, it's been the batting of both these sides that have led them through the tournament. If we talk about Sri Lanka particularly, Lasith Malinga, even though he's been this great bowler for the side, hasn't had the best tournament.
Correct. And, you know, this is not the Lasith Malinga who will sort of bowl 6 Yorkers on the trot and win it for your team. You need a fit and completely performing Lasith Malinga if Sri Lanka has to go the distance. But when you talk bowling, Radhika, from number 7 on till number 11, 9-10 Jack for South Africa is actually 9-10 Jack. You know, they've tried it between Parnell, they've tried it with Behardian. The point is from 7 onwards, Andrew was making the point about the 5th bowler and he's absolutely right. You know, with an Imran Tahir, you will not have the same effect against a subcontinental team. So after Morne, Mockle, Dale Steyn and Philander, who's your 4 and 5? Tahir will go for runs. And then whoever is your 5th, whether it's a Dumini, whether it's a de Villiers, will go for runs. So that is the weak link that Sri Lanka will want to exploit. And for Sri Lanka, you need an absolutely sort of performing Malinga, because top of the order, you knock out Hashim Amla and you knock out AB de Villiers, South Africa is half done. David Miller, even now, cannot win you a match on his own.
Absolutely. Andrew, like Boria mentioned, it's that 5th bowler which has leaked runs for South Africa. It happened against India. It's happened in rest of the matches. So obviously that is something that is troubling South Africa pretty severely in this World Cup. Yeah,
they haven't been able to find, in the games gone, haven't been able to find someone who's put their hand up a couple of times and really said, pick me as this 5th bowler. And then, as I said, the part-time bowlers bowling in that restricted period, it is difficult. As soon as you're slightly off on a good wicket against quality batting, you're going to start getting hit, and that's what's been happening. So, very interesting initial exchange. If they keep wickets in hand, you can really exploit that period of the game. So we'll have to wait and see how they go early on against the new ball.
Boria, you did mention last time around that you were surprised why Kumar Sangakkara had suddenly decided to retire, considering the form that he's in. Obviously, he will be the crucial player for Sri Lanka in this match.
No question, and at least he should want to end it on a high. I mean, if he wants to quit cricket, how, you know, what do you want but to be world champion and quit cricket? And if Sri Lanka make it to the semi-finals, mouth-watering clash with New Zealand again. This is one match Sri Lanka should fancy. South Africa hasn't chased well. Sri Lanka batting first. The 2 chases, India, South Africa, done. Pakistan, South Africa, done. They've beaten weaker opposition batting first. Here they are chasing again. So that C-tag, put them under pressure, anything can happen.
Boria, also the fact that Sri Lanka seem to perform on the big stage. They are known to perform in big major ICC events. They're known to really, pull out their socks. Everybody performs. That obviously puts Sri Lanka in a strong position.
Very good question. 2011 finalists, 2014 T20 champions. This one, you know, once again, they've done brilliantly so far. Sri Lanka and India, the 2 teams that have done very, very well in ICC competitions. And in Sydney, the track will favour them. The toss has favoured them. South Africa never won a World Cup match in the knockout. They won Super 8 matches, but not in the knockout phase. So all of these equations and Kumar Sangakkara, Tilakaratne, Dilshan's form, if they negotiate, as Andrew was saying, if they negotiate the initial burst from the South African speedsters, you will see a big total. And if that happens, AB de Villiers will have to play out of his skin, as will Hashim Amla.
Obviously, Nikhil, Boria feels that the way, how much does mental pressure, play in these matches? Obviously, Boria mentioned, Andrews mentioned, that it will be at the back of South Africa's mind that they've never won in the knockout. And Sri Lanka, on the other hand, have always risen on the big stage.
Well, mentally, it does make a difference. You're coming from a point where, you start off any ICC event, and South Africa has always been one of the favourites. We're looking to win the ICC events, but they've never been able to go out there and do that. And if you look at the start of the World Cup, they got Michael Hussey in there, they've got Gary Kirsten in there, they're trying to get people who've been there, who've been able to win the World Cup. It just goes to show the psyche also for the South African Cricket Board, the support staff. They're trying to get more and more people to try and help the South Africans. But at the end of the day, like Andrew said, like Boria in Australia said, it's the 5th bowler. You need to try and get the composition of the side together. You might as well do, Radhika, as much planning as whatever you want to do before the start of the game. At the end of the day, the guys playing in that field of play 11, the execution will make all the difference. Me personally, looking into this game, if South Africa had a chance in the sense that blessing in disguise, they've lost. The fifth bowler probably gets more exploited if they were looking to defend the target. Now, maybe because their batting is much, much stronger, that can handle the pressure. It's just that the new ball will make all the difference. Dilshan, Morty Mokul. This is it. This is what you've been planning for the last 4 years, to go out there, try and do something for South Africa. This is the business end of the tournament. Their 20 overs will make all the difference.
This is the business end of the tournament. This is the time that South Africa need to prove that they aren't really chokers. Back after the break, in the first quarter-final of the World Cup, Sri Lanka have won the toss and elected to bat first. We'll take final comments from all our panelists. Bori, I'll come to you first. You've said that after the toss, you favour Sri Lanka in this match. You will go with it. Sri Lanka, you confident that Sri Lanka will overcome South Africa?
I will. I want the subcontinental teams to prove they can win in Australia. I want that C tag to keep haunting South Africa. It's quite funny.
Andrew, Boria finds the C tag funny. For you, who is the favourite into this match?
I'm going to agree with him. I'm enjoying that. We can't have South Africa winning this game, no.
You would rather have Sri Lanka in the semi-final rather than...
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Kumar Sangakkara get the send-off he deserves. He's been a terrific cricketer and an amazing, he's a gentleman of the game, so I'm hoping that he has a strong finish to this tournament.
Final comment, Nikhil?
Well, I like to sit on the fence, and whichever side wins, I'll get onto that. But on a much more serious note, Radhika, everybody's calling it 50-50. I'd say 55-45 in favour of South Africa. I won't be surprised if South Africa go out there and beat Sri Lanka. And I'll tell you why.
It's 2-1 as far as Sri Lanka versus South Africa go. That is all that we have in this edition of the Cup That Matters.